Hello, friends. Welcome back. Welcome back. How was your week? How was your week?
Good.
Good.
How was yours?
It was good. It was a good week. I had a lot of positives. Yeah, I'm counting as a win. Let us know how your week was in the comments.
Yeah.
And if you like this by the end of the video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Those are really helpful. And eventually, we're going to get to the point of going live. So once we get 200 subscribers, we're going to hang out and chat with you guys live every Saturday at 9 a.m. So help us get to that goal. But in the meantime, if you don't know who we are, we're the Rustic Girls. I'm Katie, the daughter of the mother-daughter duo.
And I am Patty, the mother of the mother-daughter duo. It's amazing how hard that can be to get out sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
Some mornings.
Your tongue just trips over it completely. Yeah. I like that we need a coffee at the exact same time. Your brain's like, oh, no. So we were thinking about what to talk about this week, and we decided we were going to go with what are the hard and fast rules of incorporating antiques into your home. So we've been doing home decor for a lot of years, through the business, and have just become really passionate about the value of incorporating antique pieces into your home. But there's some rules to it. And I think that, diving into it, the first rule is that there actually is no rules to it. It's about doing what you love.
There. Gotcha.
So we did there, a little hook. No, but it's true, because I think that you can get caught up on design rules, and we've really advocated against that. I think that there are tips when it comes to decorating. There's things that have value and could be helpful in trying to create a beautiful space, but there's no rules. It's your home.
Yeah, it really comes down to it's what you love and your story.
Yeah, and your story. And so, you're going to find, as we share today, kind of the whys and the hows behind what we incorporate, that we're very different in our approaches. But I think the principle is the same, which is treasuring the past, creating a beautiful space that tells your story. Those are the principles behind what we do. It just looks different. So, do you want to start with maybe, I don't know, your thoughts?
My thoughts. Okay. Well, gosh, I started collecting older things for my home. Gosh, probably before we even started the business. And I think, there's a couple different ways. I came into it really from the everything I love, collect everything I love, and then I'll find a spot for it. And as I quickly discovered, you can't, if you live in a mansion, you could probably find a spot for everything. But oftentimes, there's just, because when they start piling up, the beauty is lost.
That's what I was thinking.
Or if you have to store them, the beauty is lost. And sometimes not only the beauty is lost, but sometimes they will degrade. If they're not stored properly, just because they're already old, they've already lived. And
well, yeah, I think right there, nailed it on the head. You have too much collections, and then nothing shines.
Yeah, too much is too much.
And so and thoughtful.
So I quickly learned that I had to start, because many of my collections kind of found me. I didn't set out to collect rolling pins or to collect Crocs, I just really loved them. And so every time I found one, I want to keep it. I want to keep it. I want to keep it. And I quickly learned, well, maybe not so quickly, but I did learn that they shine more when you can kind of highlight them. So, I did apply some of those rules, decorating rules, if you will, guidelines, to kind of pare them down. Every so often I would lay them out.
With a very full cup, and it's sloshing like a madman.
I would lay them out and well, I absolutely love this one. I absolutely love this one. And I would slowly pare them down. Um,
Well, and I think, you know, when I look at, incorporating antiques in my home, we've had such a, well, I don't like clutter. First of all, I'm not, you for a lot of years were really into that like heavy primitive. So the,
mhm,
all the not knickknacks, all the tchotchkes, and it's just really full. And that's not my style. I'm not a minimalist by any means, any stretch of the imagination. Um, but I don't, it feels too visually cluttered for me. And my brain can't, just doesn't enjoy that space. Um, so for my home, I've always been a little bit less. So not big collections. Um, and so my thing is a lot of my old pieces. I don't have a ton. And you'll see like in the space behind me, I have a few like, but most of those are heirloom pieces. So my
mhm,
tchotchkes tend to be only family pieces because you just can only have so many tchotchkes in my opinion. And so like I have a few different things and I have them curated on like a bookshelf and that's it as far as tchotchkes go. Um, and then everything else has a purpose. Because a lot of your antiques are still fully functional.
mhm,
Old rolling pins, um, old dishes, um, old vases. I mean, there's just so much that can still be functional.
mhm.
And so for
And
me, all
honestly,
my
in a lot of ways, more functional than some of the things that we find on the
mm-hmm,
market today, which
mm-hmm,
is you see a lot of people are going back to old coffee percolators of the various styles
yeah,
or um, old staples like that that have stood withstood the test of time.
I
Um,
just
they're beautiful, they're
downgraded
functional.
my washing machine from a nice fancy front load to the old stacking agitator because older stuff works better, man. But yeah, so for me, in my home, I have a love of beautiful things, but I think because of that, my home um, shifts more.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it's like there's a lot of collections and they stay the same. You've got like a spot for that where it's
Mm-hmm.
beautifully displayed and it stays there. And whereas, in my home, because I'm constantly, I want to get new things,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want the clutter, I'm constantly, well, I'll let go of this piece. This doesn't work as good anymore. So I
Well,
have
and
a lot more like shuffling happening.
yeah, and I think I did more of that when I had more space too.
Right.
Now it's like it's very select, and one of my pieces or one of my areas of collecting, I've
Mm-hmm.
always had a thing, gosh, for years and years. I mean, I have things from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had a tiny little curio on the wall, and I have a few pieces that were in
Mm-hmm.
that from my childhood.
I remember growing up having those. I don't know if
The
they're
little
curios, but
shadow
the
boxes
little
or
like shadow
mhm.
boxes hanging on the wall and they had all the little. I thought they were really pretty.
Yeah. And so I've always kind of had a thing for the little
The
things.
tinies.
Yeah, the tinies and, having the business. So many crossed our path. You would get a box of stuff and there would
Mm-hmm.
always be some little something in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a it's more probably designed to put like a cups or mugs or something in.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper. And so I create little vignettes
Mm-hmm.
in within each of those little cubbies.
I
And
actually might do a little video and do a little reel this week and just show them because yeah, it's really cool. It's beautifully done.
and then that changes. So if
Mm-hmm.
I, add a piece, I rearrange a little bit to accommodate it. And so for me, it became aside from maybe one or two random things that have a spot elsewhere, that contains all my tinies. So
Mm-hmm.
um, there was I've only done it once or twice where I've like kind of weeded it down a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. But the day will come when I'm going to have to make some hard choices because I've decided that
That's your limit.
that's their home, and that's one thing that can be very helpful if you like to collect, things. I collected yardsticks, and I collected rulers, and I collected scissors
And rolling
and
pins
rolling
and
pins.
vintage cookie cutters.
Yeah, and so and I would just let them for a while. I would just let them kind of spill over, and then I eventually found a container that I liked, and
Keep them in, and
you had to keep, I yeah,
you had to
and
curate them.
if you get too many, then it's not pretty anymore. You can have like a nice little bouquet of rulers out of a cool old can, but when you cram like two or three extra in there, then it just looks like they're crammed in there. So there was always that culling of keeping it at where it looked
Right.
pretty.
I
So,
think that right there is, we talked about, there's different design tips, but I think when it talks about, when we're talking about it, when we're talking about, putting things in your home, one of the biggest kind of guides and helps is to be your own curator. Because when there's too much, nothing shines.
right.
And so being intentional and being thoughtful about your whys. So, for example, it's for me, a lot of things have to have a purpose. I love when they also have a story to go with it, but they have to really have a purpose to be in my home. So the things that I collect are things with functionality still. For you have your tinies, right? But you figure out what you want and kind of like what's your goal with your home and with your collections, and then it's how do I want to display them, because that will help you curate, like you said, having that spot. This is my spot for all my littles. If it's too full that I can't appreciate the beauty of it, then I know I need to cull. I need to weed some out. For me, with the tchotchkes, it's like I have my bookshelves. That's where I keep those. If I had too many, I have had in the past too many, and I've weeded out, which is why I'm down to basically the stuff that's family pieces. Because for me, when I go to weed out, it's what's important to me, and importance was the family things. I wanted to keep those for future generations. I appreciate having things around me that was either something in my home growing up or in my grandmother's home, that I know it has heritage. I have not on this shelf, but in my other bookshelves, I have a bike bell that was on my grandpa's bike as a little boy. So those are the little things I keep. But I think being your own curator, figuring out what are your rules, because that's really what it comes down to. What are your rules? What are your guidelines for your home? And then actively curating and picking, like wisely picking, so that when people come in, it's not just piles of collections everywhere. Because even, and I will say, even like in that Americana primitive, it's very full. It's a design style that has a lot to it. But I've seen ones that are overdone and it's just stuff everywhere. And I've seen ones that are a little bit less. You can tell they curated a little bit more and it's just really beautiful. Even if it's not my style, it's really beautiful. And I think so being wise in how much you have in your home is important.
And I think, having it be where you're drawn to appreciate it. I think sometimes, when there's too much, you won't even notice it because you recognize, let's just say you have a collection of rolling pins and you had them displayed in a crock and you got like 3 new ones or 5 new ones and they didn't quite fit and you were trying to figure out what to do, and so they were just kind of piled up there next to it. And so you stop appreciating that because when you look at that, it represents something I need to do. So I got decisions to make. And so keeping it so that when you pass by, you go, oh, I like that. And it invites curiosity when others come into your space. They're like, oh, that's,
that's cool.
And
because it looks intentional.
Yeah. And I think people are more inclined to be curious if like you only have like 5 rolling pins in your thing, like is there significance to those 5 rolling pins? Were those family heirlooms? Or whereas if you just have like 600, I've been in homes where they have collections of kitchen things on their walls and stacked up and on their cupboards, and you just notice just collecting them, but you just assume,
and don't necessarily
they collect
something
them.
special. They just collect all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So
they have a large collection. I think the bigger collection you have, the more important it is that you display it really well. But I think antiques, bringing them into the home for me has also been something that just gives character and age to the
Mhm.
space. It tells a story, it brings a little more life to it. Uh, whether it be my story or my husband's story, or, I have a set of vases. They're German, like, I don't know, hand blown glass or something vases.
Mhm.
And they're simple and they're nice and I like them. But one of the reasons I love them is because my husband was born in Germany. He is not German. He was on a military base, just to clarify. But yes, he was born in Germany. So it's like a little nod. And even if no one asked me about those faces, I know. And I can smile because I feel like that
Mhm.
adds so much little moments in my home that I can enjoy and appreciate.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say, uh, if you don't, if you're not, some families are rich and heavy in family heirlooms and they
Mm-hmm.
get passed down, but some families are not. Some either they didn't have the things or life was such that they weren't able to save those things.
Right.
Um, that's where going out and cultivating treasures can come
Mm-hmm.
in because it's someone's story. They
Right.
were a part of someone's story
Right.
and they've survived.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can make them part of your story.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Just like that. I mean,
yeah.
if it reflects aspects of your
Or
story.
if you've, I think we've all probably lost treasures over the years, maybe family heirlooms they've gotten destroyed or
Mm-hmm.
lost. Um, and you can seek out something that was like what you had.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your mother's antique whatever, but it's similar and it, takes you back to that moment and you can say, "Oh, my mom had one just like this,"
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I want to step back one, not to because I said something and I don't want it to come across as I don't know, judgmental, but whether your collection is small or large, if you have like a 10,000 piece rolling pin collection, like you do you. And
Yeah.
again, it's your home and um, don't take us saying
Right. Be your own
uh
curator does not mean you have to curate a small collection. It
yeah.
can be a large.
Yes,
It's just
exactly.
being intentional about it, not just having it. 'Cause especially once people find out you collect something, what
Yeah.
happens? That's
Mhm.
what you get for every holiday,
Yep.
every gift, right? And so it can get really, really big. And so I think it's just being intentional about the ones you do own. It's not that
Yeah.
you can't have a big one. Although I stand by what I said. I think the bigger they get, the more important it is you
Oh,
find a really lovely way to display them.
for sure.
Otherwise, it just ends up feeling like clutter, and you can't really appreciate it, and your guests won't appreciate it. Oh yeah, for sure. You can have big collections.
Yeah.
Curating does not mean small. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
No.
a curator for the small town museum in Potoncville, and there's a curator for the Smithsonian.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
for sure, you can have bigger collections. Um, and I think that it's finding the things that bring you joy as well. When I think about having things that were my family's, or things that are nods to my family's heritage, it doesn't mean I have to keep it all. And it doesn't mean I have to display it all. Um,
Well,
it should be something I love and I enjoy because you're going to spend the most time in your home.
mhm.
So make sure that this is a space that tells the story you want to read.
Well,
You
and
know,
don't be afraid to if there's items you love and you're not sure, like think about other ways. Don't be afraid to play with how you can use
mm-hmm.
them differently than their intended purpose. I mean,
Yes.
it's great if they serve their original purpose for
Mm-hmm.
you. If a crock and you love making kraut or churning butter or
Perfect.
whatever, that's awesome. But they equally can serve to hold your kitchen utensils,
Rolled
to
up
hold
blankets,
collections,
the
to
bigger
hold,
ones.
um, you can put them all over your house. You like to put plants,
But
set
plants,
plants in
use them as a
them,
planter.
use them in your
Mm-hmm.
bath. So, anything that you love to collect, if, and even if you have like a larger collection,
Mm-hmm.
right? Consider you can use some for their intended purpose. You can use some to display things in,
Yeah.
different things. So don't be afraid to um,
Yeah, just because collection doesn't mean to like
redefine
sit on a shelf displayed. Yeah.
redefine what they're for,
Yeah.
how they're used. Because I think that's pretty cool
Oh
when I
yeah.
see somebody doing something that I would never think to use that thing
Mm-hmm.
for, and it's like,
Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking about, I just the other night I was talking to my mama about, I have a plant sitting on top of a butcher block, and I really want to get something to put it in so that, when I water it, I don't have to worry about any kind of mildew happening or ruining the wood. And I really want to get just some, like, a vintage enamelware bowl to be able to just set it in. And part of that is, well, it's vintage, which is always prettier in my opinion. And then also, my grandma was notorious for putting the most random things. I mean, she had uh, a fine china. One of her pieces of fine china, she had a plant inside of. She just was like that. And so for me, doing little things like that,
mm-hmm.
using a kitchen enamelware bowl as a basin for a plant is kind of a nod to my grandma as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that, use things in unexpected ways and
Well, and I think
play with it a
too,
little.
if you love vintage, right? Think about the things that you know. I think plants is an excellent example, right? Because what do we do? We have a plant to pot up, or we need a drip tray. We go down to the hardware store or whatever. We buy
Yeah.
a flower pot. We buy the little plastic tray to go underneath. When equally so, you can put it in some sort of vintage vessel with drainage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you just need the drip tray, and like you said, of it, go to your thrift store and look
An
through
old
all the
metal
plates,
pan or a
or yeah,
plate
metal,
or
yeah.
a bowl.
um so yeah, if you have something that you need to like organize or store, just think about, like, okay, this is what I would traditionally use, but
Mm-hmm.
what could I use that would be prettier? Because I think um those things bring, there's just something about something utilitarian that we use
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis, whether it be our kitchen tools, whether it be our silverware or flatware, Q-tips and cotton balls,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
of having them in something pretty,
Mm-hmm.
that
Fitting beauty.
that
I mean, we've talked about the packaging. The stuff used to come in was so beautiful,
mhm,
and now it's just plastic and paper and cardboard, and you rip it and you throw it away.
yeah,
And like how much vintage containers we have now that were just the packaging for
yeah,
the product. So I think make it beautiful.
yeah,
Make it, even if it's utilitarian. That's why I like using vintage items when I can, um, as my pieces for my, functionality, you know, cookware or whatever. Always be safe though. Just one nod
for
towards the end of it.
sure,
When you
yeah.
are reusing vintage things, antique
In
things
modern appliances.
in modern appliances, make sure it's safe to go in that space. Also,
Mhm,
make sure if it's anything painted, lead based paint,
yeah,
don't be using vintage cups to drink out of until you're sure that this is a safe thing. So, I think that would be the only caveat I have in using antiques in actual practical functional ways,
mm,
is just making sure that it is still safe for the modern era because, um, there's been a lot of discoveries about some of the stuff that we used to use all day long and they weren't safe. And so,
yeah. And I think don't be afraid of, we've talked about a little bit about, like, decorating style,
mm-hmm,
and don't be afraid to mix and match, even if your home is a very modern home,
mm-hmm,
and maybe your furniture, your main pieces are very modern lines.
mm-hmm.
You have to be thoughtful sometimes
Oh, yeah.
what's going to work, what you can blend in,
Mm-hmm.
but especially if you have family pieces, don't tuck them away just because you feel like it doesn't fit in
Right.
your home's style.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because you think about home design, you think about styles. I mean, I would list myself as a modern Spanish Scandinavian style. So there you go, like industrial modern. Um, but that doesn't. Those are just like they can help point you in the right direction of kind of a general theme. But yeah, it's not a hard and fast rule. We're not making homes for a magazine. We're making homes to live in. And so making sure that it's a space you're going to enjoy is the most important part. And making sure it's a space that's going to work for you is also really important. And then it being beautiful for guests is after that. So yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to deviate from the style just because it's not trendy or it doesn't fit exactly what you're doing in your home. There's ways to incorporate it in and tuck it in and be creative um, to make it work and not feel out of space. Because that's really what it means when we say make it work. It's just, it doesn't feel like this abrupt, out of place feeling when you look at it. It feels like it belongs here, is the goal with everything in your home. It should feel like it belongs here. And so sometimes you have to get a little creative if it's way, way different than what you normally do. But oh yeah, there's ways to make it all work. So thanks so much for joining us. Like I said, if you enjoyed the chat, let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, share, all the things. We are looking forward to when it can be just a live chat with you guys because it's way more fun.
It's way more fun.
We're good at talking to each other, but we don't have to do that on camera. We want to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think next week we're going to talk a little bit about friendship. So join us next Saturday around 9 a.m. because we record about 9 a.m. so it gets posted a little bit after. I hope you guys have a beautiful
Mountain
week.
time.
Mountain time. Yeah, mountain time. But I hope you guys have a beautiful week and we'll chat at you later.
Bye, friends.
Bye.